This is a replay of Let's Talk Nigeria on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, making Nigeria better, one conversation at a time.
We talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
entertainment,
people and power on Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your charm.
Hello, welcome. It's time for Let's Talk Nigeria on the Sparkling Morning Show on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar, Cross River State, Nigeria. And we have a legal practitioner to talk to us about what played out yesterday in a televised broadcast. We heard the president declare a state of emergency on River State, suspended the governor of Fubara, his deputy, and the lawmakers for 6 months. And a lot of back and forth has been coming following that suspension. And when the president was speaking, he said he's invoking his powers in Section 305. And we have Barrister Fred Nzeakor this morning to make sense of that section, because a lot of persons have different viewpoints on that same section. Good morning to you, Barrister Fred. Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, I can hear you. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to our dear listeners.
Yes. All right, Barrister Fred. Many people say the president does not have the powers to, even if he can declare a sort of emergency, he doesn't have the power to remove a democratically elected governor of a state and his deputy. And in the president's speech, he said he invoked Section 305. Please help us make sense of this.
Well, the state of emergency is as provided in our Constitution at Section 305, with all the various subsections, can be invoked on two paradigms. One, the state of emergency may be such that will freeze the certain actions of government, and then in a bid to control some things that are going out of hand. You talk about state of emergency when things are going out of hand. When the situation cannot be managed or controlled via regular procedures, via regular laws, in which case, in the case of when the issue becomes so difficult, you now apply a more rigorous approach towards solving the problems. It's such a rigorous approach that will vet the state of emergency. In 2004 and 2006, under President Olusegun Obasanjo, in Plateau State and in Ekiti State, the format of state of emergency that he deployed was the type that flushed out the executive and the legislature. But in 2013, the format that President Goodluck Jonathan deployed, when it was declared in Yobe, Adamawa, and Borno, retained the civilian structure, but tried to use uncommon procedure to solve the then seemingly unmitigated state of insecurity in that region, such that nature of state of emergency was the type that still retained the civilian administration, but deployed the military in very uncommon format so that the problems would be solved. And many lawyers and scholars of jurisprudence applauded that. Even the president then himself said that it does not mean that when you declare a state of emergency that you will sack the constitutional authority, because the democratic institutions were institutions of the people and should not be sacked on the altar of a state of emergency. And many people applauded that, and that became the latest format. Now, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has gone back to the format of President Obasanjo by sacking the government of Suspends Fubara and the House of Assembly, which so many people argued to be more on the side of politics than governance.
Okay, reconnect with Barrister Fred there. He was saying something really important and the network happened, but we'll get to reconnect with him. He was trying to make sense of the section 305 that the president invoked that made him to declare a state of emergency on River State, also removing the suspending, not removing. There are two different things. When you suspend is different from when you remove. He suspended the governor, his deputy, and the lawmakers in the River State House of Assembly. Before we get back to Barrister Fred there, let's take a look at what the president said while he was delivering that speech yesterday. He said, fellow Nigerians, I feel greatly disturbed at the turn we have come to regarding the political crisis in River State. Like many of you, I have watched with concern the development with the hope of... Okay, I'll take that again. Like many of you, I have watched with concern the development with the hope that the parties involved will allow good sense to prevail at the soonest, but all that hope burned out without any solution to the crisis. With the crisis persisting, there is no way democratic governance, which we have all fought and worked for over the years, can thrive in a way that will redound to the benefit of the good people of the state. The state has been at standstill since the crisis started, with the good people of the state not being able to have access to the dividends of democracy. Also, it is public knowledge that the governor of River State, for unjustifiable reasons, demolished the House of Assembly of the state as far back as 13th December 2023 and has up until now, 14 months after, not rebelled same. I have made personal interventions between the contending parties for a peaceful resolution of the crisis, but my efforts have been largely ignored by the parties to the crisis. The president said my efforts have been largely ignored by the parties to the crisis. So this is a general statement by the parties to the crisis. Is it one party or all the parties to this crisis? Okay, let's continue. I am also aware that many well-meaning Nigerians, leaders of thought and patriotic groups have also intervened at various times with the best of intentions to resolve the matter, but all their efforts were also to no avail. Still, I thank them. On February 28, 2025, the Supreme Court in a judgment in respect of about 8 consolidated appeals concerning the political crisis in River State, based on the several grave unconstitutional acts and disregard of rule of law, have been committed by the governor of River State. People will get to talk to another legal practitioner there because we're trying to reconnect with Barrister Fred Nzeakor, but it's not possible. But let's hear from Chief Okoi here, Obono-Obla. Good morning to you. Can you hear me, sir?
Good morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So you are well aware of what happened yesterday in River State. Nigerians have reacted, many reacting in support of the president. Others are saying that the president shouldn't have suspended the governor and his deputy. And also the NBA has come out this morning to criticize what the president did yesterday. But you are a man of the law. Is the president within his powers to do what he did yesterday? Let's hear from you, sir.
Well, I want to be very dispassionate and objective. Nigerians are not really emotional. And then people who are not even aware, they are not of the circumstances of something, and they begin to jump into the fray to disagree. I think the president is right. The president has access to a lot of security reports, a lot of intelligence reports from the National Intelligence Agency, from the DFS, from the Defense Military Agency, from the police. So if he has taken the position that a state of emergency should be declared, I don't have any reason to disagree with the president. The president also has the Attorney General of the Federation. He's one of the best lawyers this country has ever produced. I know him very well. He became a senior advocate of Nigeria when he was in his 30s. And he has been a senior advocate for over 20-something years or 30 years. So I believe he also got advice from the Attorney General. He also got advice from a lot of people. If you look at Section 305, sub 1, 2, 3, A to G of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Constitution says the President can declare, can promulgate an emergency. And you require to do that by publishing the emergency in a gazette, and that is what the president has done. The second step is whether or the National Assembly will accede to what the president has done. So if the National Assembly says no, fine. But otherwise, we stop criticizing Mr. President. He has done what Section 305(1) has asked him to do. And in the circumstances of Rivers State, what is the circumstances? A near breakdown of law and order. And this is captured in Section 305 A to G. When the country is facing an invasion, when the country is at war, when any part of the country or the federation is threatened, when there's a breakdown of law and order. You heard what the Supreme Court said last 2 weeks ago when dribbling a judgment in the case brought before the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court said, look, in Rivers State, the machinery of government has crumbled. That the governor has been running the state without the House of Assembly. And that is wrong. It's the Supreme Court said that is wrong for the governor to continue to run the House Rivers State without the legislative arm of government, being involved. So, and the Supreme Court also ordered, the governor to present the budget for 2025 before the House of Assembly, and the governor has not done so. And then we heard that militants who have no business in this crisis, militants trying to blackmail by saying that if the governor is removed, then they will start, bombing oil wells, and they have done that. So is that not enough for the president to declare an emergency in Rivers State so that we do not have civil war erupting in Rivers State?
Okay.
Hello?
I can hear you, Barrister. I can hear you. Now, another...
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, so with what you've
Yes.
said now, with what you've said...
I want to add.
Okay.
Because when we are talking, when we are discussing our democracy, we have to go back 60 years ago. What happened in the western region of Nigeria in 1964 was a fight between legislators in the western Nigeria House of Assembly. And the federal government intervened by declaring an emergency, removing Chief Akintola, who was the premier of western region, and appointing a sole administrator. So if the president, in a exercise of the powers vested in him, even where there is no express provision in Section 305 for a suspension of a democratic institution, but that section says if there is a breakdown of law and order, if there is a breakdown of law and order, as we are envisaging, as we have seen in Rivers State, then that means the president has to suspend the democratic institutions, that the institutions are not functioning. And that is why there is a breakdown of law and order. And the Supreme Court said the legislature in Rivers State has not been working for the past 2 years because the governor demolished the House of Assembly. The governor did not make available a venue for the House of Assembly to sit and deliberate. The governor did not get the approval of the House of Assembly for the budget to be passed. And so, is that not a breakdown of law or not that? Do we need to wait until people start killing one another before the president will intervene? And the president has shown so much reluctance to intervene. This matter has been on for the past 2 years or 3. And a lot of Nigerians have been calling on the Mr. President to intervene. And he has intervened. That democratic institutions should be suspended for 6 months until peace is restored. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Okay. Barrister, another issue that some Nigerians have with the president's speech yesterday is that it appeared that the president took a one-sided stance when he called out the governor of Rivers State as being responsible for the issues in the state. And some persons are saying he should have also mentioned Wike and also, apportion blame on him too.
Why Wike has something to do with what we have seen in Rivers State? Wike is not the governor. Wike is not the House of Assembly. So why do some people want Mr. President to drag Wike into the matter? I have not seen anything Wike has done to call Mr. President to drag him into the matter. The governor of Rivers State is Governor Suspends Fubara. And we have a House of Assembly of 33 members. So why do we drag somebody who a third party who is not involved? So I don't think people who are saying that they are being emotional, they are just trying to politicize the issue. So I don't agree with that perspective.
Okay, in time past, I think it was sometime last week, in a media chat that the FCT minister has, he was heard making several utterances like if the governor of Rivers State is impeached, heaven would not fall, and he said a lot of things and all of that.
What is wrong with that? He was merely asserting his right to speech because some people were threatening that they will start bombing oil pipe lines if the governor is impeached. So if the says, the evidence will not fall, because we have seen in Nigeria, we have seen over 8 governors being impeached. We have seen almost 15 deputy governors being impeached. In 1979, we saw Barr, the governor of Kaduna State, was removed. So what is wrong with that?
Okay.
If the governor is removed by impeachment, as provided by the Constitution, what is wrong with that? If the process is not correct, then he can go to court and challenge it. But I have not seen any reason why people should start threatening the country because they perceive that the governor is going to be impeached. When the governor has done something wrong, the governor has breached the Constitution, several provisions of the Constitution. And this was pointed out clearly by the Supreme Court. I thought the governor will see reason and begin to dialogue, begin to engage his opponents, begin to look for a soft landing. But he didn't do that.
All right, the NBA has also come out to criticize the state of emergency that the president announced and also the suspension of the governor. This is the NBA, and in a statement yesterday, the NBA president, Mazi Afamusigwe-san, right, he actually said the president does not have the constitutional power to remove an elected governor under a state of emergency.
Well, that is the opinion of the NBA. I'm a member of the Barr Association, 34 years. So, but it doesn't mean that anything the Barr Association says is the law. I think the president can do that. So, anybody who is aggrieved, let's go to court. Let's just challenge the, Section 305, whether the president has the power to suspend any democratic institution. That is how democracy works. It's not by issuing press statements condemning Mr. President. So let the NBA go to court. Let the Supreme interpret Section 305 and decide. Then the president will be guided. Because in 1964, we didn't have a Supreme Court. Appeals that time lies from the Federal Supreme Court to England, to the Privy Council. And when Akintola was removed, Akintola went to court to challenge the powers of the federal government to remove him. And he lost the case. It was decided in England, in the Privy Council. At that time, appeals from the Federal Supreme Court of Nigeria lies to the Privy Council. So anybody who says it is wrong, let him go to court. I am aware that President Obasanjo also introduced an emergency in Plateau State when people were fighting in 2 local government areas. He declared emergency and removed the governor, Governor Darie. So I also understand that also emergency was declared in the Ekiti State. Fayose was also removed from office. And then Jonathan too do the same thing. But so anybody who will say that the president is wrong, then let's go to court. That is the function of the judiciary, to interpret the constitution and guide us appropriately. People should not overheat the system by making statements, inflammatory statements against Mr. President. Mr. President may be right, it may not be right, but let the court say so. Only the court of law can say that.
Okay, some Nigerians have also referred to the past when the former president, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, when he declared a state of emergency on Adamawa, Yobe and Borno State during the peak of insurgency in 2013, that President Bola Ahmed, at that time he was the national leader of the Defunct Action Congress of Nigeria, he rejected that action of state of emergency declaration.
That doesn't matter. He was not the president then. He expressed his opinion just like every other person is expressing his opinion. So that doesn't matter. The circumstances may not be the same. You cannot compare what happened in 2 local government areas, Adamawa and Borno State, with what is happening in Rivers State. Rivers State is very important in Nigerian security architecture. Most of the money we are earning from oil revenue comes from West in Rivers State. And then people, militants, just got up and started, bombing oil pipelines. And you think the government should keep quiet. Is that not evidence that there is going to be a breakdown of law and order? Do we have to wait until there will be shooting in all the local governments in Rivers State before we take action? Because I expect the government to have taken action when militants started bombing oil pipelines. The government said nothing. That means the governor was ineffective. The governor was not on the top of the situation as the chief security officer of Rivers State. I think the federal government is right to intervene, to send a very strong message to these militants who are always trying to blackmail government. Whatever, if anything happens to Rivers State, they will start, blackmailing the government by bombing oil pipelines. It's not good. No country does that. Even in the world, no country will tolerate that. There is law in Nigeria. There is government in Nigeria. People should stop taking laws into their hands.
Okay, Barrister, we thank you so far for what you said, and we need to observe a short break and come back to you and also hear what Nigerians have to say about this development. This is Let's Talk Nigeria. We're still talking about the state of emergency declaration made by the president yesterday, and also the suspension of the governor of Rivers State, his deputy, and also the lawmakers in the Rivers State House of Assembly. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Coming right back. Just grab more chips and salsa.
Sparkling 92.3 FM, Calabar.
Calabar's number one.
Number one.
Music, sports, and talk radio.
Let it hit them.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Sparkling 92.3 FM.
This This is a replay of Let's Talk Nigeria on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Making Nigeria better, one conversation at a time.
We talk everything. Health, education, finance, sports, transportation, agriculture, politics,
entertainment,
people and power. On Let's Talk Nigeria. Let's Talk Nigeria. Every day of the week from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. Only on Sparkling 92.3 FM Calabar. Your radio, your shine.
Welcome back. Still talking Nigeria this morning. Let's continue the conversation. Very topical issue this morning, the declaration of the state of emergency on Rivers State and the suspension of the governor of Rivers State alongside his deputy Ngozi Odu and the lawmakers in Rivers State. And before we went on the short break, we were talking with Barrister Okoi, Obono-Obla, and everything he said from his own viewpoint. He said the president is within his right to do what he did yesterday, but anybody who feels aggrieved can go to court on that matter. And he also says it doesn't matter if the president, during his time as the national leader of the defunct Action Congress Party at the time, rejected the state of emergency declared by the sitting president at the time, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. And remember when we started, we had Barrister Fred Nzeakor on the line, so we're able to also get him to hear what he has to say on this matter. But people, you can also call in and make your contributions. Let's hear your thought, but also remember that we're guided by rules. Let's try as much as possible to maintain these rules. 0812-723-7060 or 009-230-0022. That's the number for you to send in your WhatsApp messages to this morning. Let's hear what you have to say about this development that happened yesterday in Nigeria. And just like the report has it, that already the military has occupied the River State government house. Barrister Fred, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, thank you so much for rejoining us. Okay, while you were away, we were speaking with Barrister Okoi Obono-Obla, and he said that the president is within his right to do what he did, and any of the parties that feels aggrieved can go to court. And there was also a question about Nigerians bringing back what happened in the past, where the incumbent president had, during Jonathan's time, rejected the state of emergency that Mr. Jonathan had placed at the time on the three northern states that were facing high-level insurgency. And he says it doesn't matter at this time. What do you think of it?
Well, for anybody to say that it is within the right of Mr. President to declare the state of emergency, yes, it is. But the question is, the issues on ground, are they sufficient enough for the type of state of emergency declared by Mr. President? Section 305 of our Constitution, in subsection 3, rules out, itemizes the circumstances that could be emergency. And if one says that the threat to our national assets by the challenges and threat to our oil pipeline is enough, which is a big economic sabotage, that is enough for one to declare state of emergency. Some other people are also asking questions that who has the authority, who has the mandate and the capacity to secure our national assets? All the agencies of security in the country are in the hands of the federal government. The police, the army, the navy, the SSS, the DMI, the civil defense, and all of them are controlled by and answerable to Mr. President. You now ask the question, if they fail to do their job, who will now bear the brunt? Is it the governor that will bear the brunt? The governor who cannot even direct the commissioner of police in his state without the inspector general of police being in concurrence. So there's no need for us to live in denial of the kind of structure that we have. The structure is such that the governor does not have such capacity to even defend or protect all those oil pipelines. And of course, the problem between the governor and his estranged political godfather, everybody in Nigeria knows that such a problem has grounded the governance of rivers and has led to terrible challenges, which of course so many federal authorities want to live in denial or to pretend as if they don't know that those problems exist. And that, for me, is playing the ostrich. Because from the address of Mr. President, he heaped the whole blame on Mr. Suspends Fubara, as if it was his own.
Hello, Barrister Fred. We're struggling to hear you. Hello? All right, we'll try to reconnect with Barrister Fred. I think the network is pretty unstable. But let's quickly go on WhatsApp to see the reactions from Nigerians on this. This one says, okay, there's a call interrupting. Okay. 0812-723-7060. And this is from Albert Ekbo. Says, I thank you for bringing the learned gentleman, Barrister Obla, to make clarifications on the issues of political crisis and emergency declaration in Rivers State. I hope that those Nigerians who are not well vested, I'll complete this message, who are not well vested. Okay, the calls are coming in at the same time, but let me just finish with this message and then I would get to the calls. I hope that those Nigerians who are not well vested with the law of the land would take a cue from their explanations. Let there be peace in Rivers State henceforth, especially with the appointment of the sole administrator. This is from Albert Ekbo. Hello, good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning, Okamaka.
Good morning, Mr. Savior.
Savior calling.
Okay, well, where are you calling us from now?
I'm calling from Calabar South to be precise.
All right.
I have listened to your guest, and I think I have a few questions to ask him. One of the questions is that as politicians, I think from his explanation of the president's position as again when Obasanjo declared state of emergency and he condemned it, so we cannot hold politicians to their statement. Today they can say one and tomorrow they say another one. So that for me will be that when it favors you, it's connection. And when it doesn't favor you, it's corruption. That's number one. Number two, if he's now exempting Wike from the crisis of Rivers State, I don't know who we can attribute this problem to or what was the genesis of this problem. Even when Wike have made a lot of threatening statements and somebody will say that we cannot join Wike in this struggle, I think that is an act of insincerity. And when you also blame the governor that the governor was not the
Hello?
The problem, I'm hearing you, I'm with you. When he blamed the governor that the governor was not discharging his function very well as far as this problem when the militants were threatening. And he also said that the military and all the forces they belong to the federal government. What did he expect the governor to do? Is the only way the president will solve this problem is by declaring himself emergency and suspending the governor. Why didn't he release the military to go and guide the pipeline even when the governor was still in office? Why must the governor be suspended before the military is released? Can the military be released and the governor still remain in office for the military to go and guide the pipeline? That is my question for him.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Savior. We'll try to reconnect with Barrister Nzeakor here and see if we can get to him. 0812-723-7060 is the number to call this morning. I think for some people the network is favorable, while for others the network is not favorable this morning. But all the same, you can take to our WhatsApp number and drop your message And also, do well to send us messages to our SMS box. Hello, Barrister Fred, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, you were saying something before the network yanked you off.
Yes, I was saying that in view of the challenges, the political challenges in Rivers, one could very easily question whether the challenges have gotten to the level of the complete total breakdown of law and order beyond management of the government that will warrant the declaration of state of emergency. And that was why so many observers have believed President has possibly overindulged his minister. And that instead of asking the minister to cease and desist from the kind of politics he's playing in Rivers and face his job in Abuja, that Mr. President has allowed him to continue to destabilize the government of Rivers State. It is still an argument whether the action of the minister and the response by the governor himself are enough to bet a state of emergency in Rivers. Because all the conditions as outlined in section 305, subsection 3, that are conditions precedent for such declaration, one can say that it is not yet ripe for such a declaration, in which case that it is premature and that Mr. President was not properly advised. Others who want to argue on the side of Mr. President say that Mr. President wants to nip it in the bud because of the threat to national assets. Yes, we agree. We agree with that. But the critical question is, does declaration of state of emergency, is that the only solution towards solving the perceived threat to national assets? That becomes a question that only time shall tell, and then answers will be demanded by the public.
All right. From what we see here, there is a procedure for this declaration, and it says that the president must issue an official proclamation of a state of emergency, which we know he has done. The National Assembly, the Senate, and the House of Representatives must approve the declaration within 2 days if in session, or 10 days if not in session. What does this mean, actually?
Yeah, what it means is that if the National Assembly, the Senate and House of Reps, if they sit today in session, in plenary, and they will bring it up as a matter of urgent national importance, because the law provides that they must look into it, assent to it, or withdraw assent, in which case approve the declaration or disapprove it. And if they approve the declaration, then it stands. And if they oppose it, then the declaration will not stand. So, and that's why it is given 48 hours within which to do so. And 10 days if they are not in session, in which case if they are on holiday or on vacation, they will have to cut short their vacation and come and attend to such a matter of urgent national interest. Now they are not on vacation. So we expect that in session today, they are going to look at it. And if they approve it, then because it's already gazetted by the executive, and if it is not approved by the National Assembly, and which requires a total majority of both chambers, then it will fly. Otherwise, if it is opposed, it will not fly. Many Nigerians are calling on National Assembly not to give their accent to such, but I'm afraid that such a call may not be. They may not heed such a call.
Why are you afraid?
No, I'm afraid they may not, because of the political temperature and the political relationship between the executive at the federal level and the legislature at the federal level. I do not believe that those who are asking that the declaration will not be supported, I don't think that they will succeed. That means it is most likely that the National Assembly will support the declaration.
Okay, so we have a message here. This one is from Dennis. Dennis says, "Good morning, Ukamaka." He's asking me a question. Please help me ask your guest. Okay, who posts Commissioner of Police to state and other security chiefs? Secondly, who secures national assets? Thirdly, national assets were also threatened in some states. Barrister Fred, do you have any response to this?
Yes, all the security apparatus of the Federation are in the hands of the federal government. The police, the army, the navy, the SSS, the air force, the civil defense, all of them are in the hands of federal government. And of course, we know that by the nature of our federalism that we practice, which is far from the true fiscal federalism that we'll be talking about, a state governor may not even be able to direct the commissioner of police in his state without the commissioner in some cases, getting approval from the IG. And the IG is directly answerable to the president. So the commander-in-chief is the one who is commanding all the security apparatus of the country. And the security agencies are the ones in charge of securing national assets. The duty of the citizen is to be watchful and report any violation or infringement or breach of our national assets to the security agencies. The security agencies have a duty to secure them and then also have a duty to ensure that the economic sabotage that may arise from that is aborted. This year we have the biggest budget ever in Nigerian history, and the budget is anchored on a hope to realize and increase oil production that is currently at 1.4, 1.34, 1.5 million barrels per day, and the government is hoping to upscale it to between 1.8 to 2.2 million barrels per day. So there's no way the government will tolerate any threat to our oil assets, and that is given. And that is why we say that the government should deploy all means to ensure that our oil assets are secured. But the question is one of the means of securing the assets, does it lie in declaration of state of emergency in rivers? If state of emergency can be declared, why not take the Jonathan option, whereby the democratic institutions will still be upheld? This one is a collapse of democracy in rivers, which was the Obasanjo approach in 2004 and 2006 that was roundly criticized both by local and international observers and commentators. And that was why the Jonathan approach in 2013 was seen as the most civilized approach, because we can't be talking about democracy. We go one step with the democracy and go two steps backwards and despotism. We have to ensure that our democracy keeps growing up better than election by the representatives of the people. There's nothing better than that, at least for now. So has done by this invocation is to collapse the democratic thought that he would have followed the Jonathan approach. He wouldn't have raised any eyebrow. But and that is why, because of his approach, so many people felt that he wanted to overindulge his minister. With time shall tell, and we'll see how it plays out.
All right, there's a message here from Stephen. His matter: we await the National Assembly's decision on the state of emergency as to know whether it's right before judiciary or otherwise. Barrister Fred, before we get you back in the line, said the Supreme Court in their judgment had state wasn't functioning for this past 2 years, and the executive wasn't really handling the state as it should. I'm paraphrasing now. And that is enough for the president to have done what he did by suspending the executive structure and the legislative structure.
I do not agree with him at all in such assertion. The judgment of the Supreme Court had not handled all the issues arising from the political imbroglio in Rivers State. It is very easy for some people to patronize the executive by way of romanticizing their thoughts and their actions. But I can tell you that the reality is such that even the Supreme Court judgment was a subject of controversy and a lot of legal and jurisprudential argument, because it raised so many issues that one matter was brought before the Supreme Court, and in one fell swoop, they treated 3 matters, 2 others as consequential orders. Matters that are obviously very primary and basic issues in courts below. But while we are not interested in criticizing the Supreme Court, we can ask questions where questions needed to be asked, because when orders and judgments do not go the way of justice and equity in the minds of some people, those people who feel that there's no justice or equity have the right to ask questions. But even in this case, yes, Mr. President has constitutional mandate to declare a state of emergency. But the question is, such mandate, such authority has some provisos. The question is, have the conditions in Rivers given rise to such a declaration? That is a critical question. And secondly, must the democratic institutions be collapsed under a state of emergency? President Goodluck Jonathan has straightened up the issues in 2013. And many observers are surprised that Mr. President decided to take the Obasanjo approach that was not only draconian, but despotic, instead of Goodluck approach that was not just civilized, but in line with democratic ideals and tenets. And that is why many people are saying that there's more politics in this than national interest.
Okay. 0812-723-7060 is the number to call, and also do well to send us a message on our WhatsApp platform or to the WhatsApp platform. This one says, "Good morning, Okamaka. In line with subsections 2A and B of Section 305, a state of emergency declared by the President does not assume automatic validity. It requires legislative ratification within a defined time frame to remain in effect unless the National Assembly duly approves the proclamation. Nigeria's democracy must be protected at all costs, and the Constitution must be upheld as the supreme legal authority in all circumstances." Naimeka from Federal Housing. All right, we have a message again here. This one is from Moffat in Atimbo. Good morning, Okamaka. Okay. The guest has been biased. He speaks like one that has personal interest. Please, what will be Wike's punishment? Why will President do what he kicked against? Okay, he's responding to Barrister Okoi's position on that. Okay, thank you, Moffat. Let's see. We also have this one. This one is from Okoi in Nasrawa. He says, "Stop bringing politicians looking for jobs to your station." Okay, this is Obla is one of them. Okay, in Nasrawa, this is not really acceptable, right? Every one person has a right to air their thought and the opinions on different issues. And Barrister Okoi did his, and Barrister Fred is also doing his. Barrister Fred, as we wrap up this conversation, what do you think Fubara, let's say the National Assembly approves this? What will be the fate of Fubara in this whole thing?
If the National Assembly approves it, then what does the Fubara do? You go and for the next 6 months and see whether it will be extended or whether his office will be restored. Until there's another election, he remains the governor of Rivers State. This is a temporary suspension or a temporary leave, one can call that, for him and for the members of the legislature, in which case the executive arm, legislative arm, the political and democratic structures of both arms of government have by this state of emergency been collapsed. Now Rivers will be run by a sole administrator, a military man for that matter. And that means all structures and institutions of democracy in Rivers are hereby suspended. This is more like an official coup d'etat against democracy. But if National Assembly does not ratify it, then that means the declaration or the proclamation will not stand, and he goes back to his seat. And if eventually it is ratified, he will only know his fate after 6 months. If the situation persists, in the opinion of Mr. President, it can be extended. And many people are now becoming wary of the politics of this, because some people are already linking it to 2027. I do not want to follow such a bandwagon, because we like to look at issues as they unfold. Speculation, I do not like to indulge in speculative analysis. We look at the issues as they unfold and say it the way they are. For now, that is what it is. And the governor has no other option than to proceed on personal leave, which has been forced to for 6 months.
All right, thank you, Barrister Fred. Lastly, we take this message and then we call it a close. This one is from Kanu Rex from Calabar South. He says, with all indication, the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State by presidency is not in the interest of the good people of Rivers State, but selfish interest by select few. If President Tinubu has the constitutional power to suspend a sitting governor and his deputy, then he should use the same power to suspend Wike, his minister, because he's part and parcel of the crisis in Rivers State. All right, people, this is where we draw the curtain on this conversation. Thank you so much for being part and parcel. Let me borrow Kano Rex's word of this conversation. Thank you, Barrister Fred, for speaking with us, and also special thanks to Barrister Okoi, who had to run along. He had a court judgment or court proceedings this morning, right? Thank you all for your time. Have a beautiful day, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ukamaka Richard Bass is my name. Bye for now.
Number one. Music, sports, and talk.